big money. And I do mean big. On average, CEOs take home roughly $15.6 million a year, so they've got money to burn. One might think that money goes toward fancy things like luxury automobiles, as yet one more way to remind the world just how endlessly wealthy they actually are. Shockingly, that's not always the case. A good number of CEOs, though certainly not all, eschew multi-million-dollar vehicles in favor of moderately priced, reliable transportation. Whether they actually prefer such vehicles or know better than to flaunt their wealth every time they drive to the office, well, that depends on the executive. Join us as we present the cars of 10 of the richest CEOs in the world, and draw your own conclusions. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos is worth an unbelievable $150 billion. Even if he loses half his money in his upcoming divorce settlement, he'll still be worth more than just about every human on Earth. So you would think his car of choice would be worth at least 6 figures. Shockingly, not so. It's not even worth a high 5 figures. In fact, your car probably costs more. Bezos' car of choice is a reliable Honda Accord, whose base model costs a mere $16,995. Bezos has been driving cheap cars ever since he started Amazon. Back in the day, he zipped to work in a 1987 Chevrolet Blazer, upgrading to the Accord in 1997 despite being worth $12 billion by that point. Since then, the only thing that's changed is he drives a slightly bigger Honda model. Despite being worth more than just about anybody in recorded history, Bezos keeps the cost of things like transportation down as a symbol for how he runs his company. As he explained to 60 Minutes in 1999, cheap cars and desks recycled from old doors, which Amazon did until at least 2004, are all about spending money on things that matter to customers and not spending money on things that don't. And clearly the world's richest man driving around on millions of dollars isn't something customers care for. Few women, if any, are richer than Walmart heiress Alice Walton. With nearly $46 billion to her name, Walton could purchase and drive whatever she wants. But she doesn't. Adhering to her father's and her company's frugal, low-cost style, her ride doesn't cost very much at all, at least not compared to her net worth. Walton's truck of choice is the King Ranch version of a 2006 Ford F-150. While the $40,000 sticker price is a bit much for most people, it's still shockingly low for somebody who could easily be worth $50 billion by the time I finish this video. But it's all in the family. Her father, Walmart founder Sam Walton, owned a 1979 Ford F-150 and drove it exclusively until he died in 1992. That's some fancy penny pinching for a guy worth over $100 billion at the time of his death. But since his company is all about low prices, it really makes perfect sense. Recently, Microsoft founder Bill Gates' net worth passed the $100 billion mark, leaving him second in wealth only to Jeff Bezos. And while he's among the most charitable billionaires ever, having donated over $50 billion in his lifetime, he's not above indulging in himself as well. You can see that in his extensive car collection. Bill Gates doesn't like to show off his collection, not being the kind of billionaire who likes to flaunt his wealth in front of the less fortunate. So while we don't know exactly how many cars Bill Gates owns, it's safe to say he's collected a bunch. Most of Gates' vehicles are rare, luxurious, exotic, or all three. He's most known for his collection of Porsches, including such rare beasts as the 1988 Porsche 959, the 1991 Porsche 911 Carrera, and the Porsche 930. In addition, he owns several Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royces, and Mercedes. After all, while he may be dedicated to donating most, if not all of his wealth to philanthropy by the time he dies, that doesn't mean he can't indulge a little in the meantime. Berkshire Hathaway head Warren Buffett is notoriously frugal, still living in a modest house despite being worth about $80 billion. This frugality extends to his choice of wheels. Buffett has ever only owned one car at a time, and he's not exactly breaking the bank when shopping for one. In 2006, he spent $45,000 on a Cadillac DTS, which isn't exactly an outrageous cost. The following year, he auctioned off his old Lincoln Town Car for charity. Buffett kept driving his Cadillac for years, only upgrading in 2014 to a Cadillac XTS. He paid slightly more for that one, around $55,000. But for a man so careful with his money, you can excuse a minor indulgence in the name of luxury. As for the old Cadillac, he auctioned that one off as well. It sold for $122,500, but in pure Buffett fashion, he didn't keep the money for himself. Rather, he donated it all to the Girls Incorporated charity, based out of his native Omaha, Nebraska. If he's still driving when it comes time to upgrade his vehicle yet again, expect him to repeat the charity auction process. Tesla head Elon Musk is just as well known for his quirks and eccentricities as he is for his brilliance and advances in the auto industry. And with over $20 billion to his name, he certainly has the cash to indulge his every quirky whim. As befitting a vehicle guru, Elon Musk enjoys collecting cars. His most famous vehicle isn't exactly one he would drive to the store. In 2013, he paid $920,000 for the Lotus Esprit submarine car used in the James Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me. He didn't just buy it to say he owned it either. As befitting the guy who wants us to live on Mars sooner rather than later, Musk has a vision to one day make the Bond submarine car a reality. Musk also owns several cars for actual driving purposes. Obviously, he owns and drives plenty of Teslas, but he's not completely bound to his company's solar-powered vision. In October 2017, Musk admitted over Twitter that he owns at least 2 gas-powered vehicles, though he likely keeps them around purely for collection purposes. He has a 1967 Jaguar E-Type Series 1 Roadster, one of the most gorgeous sports cars ever made, and something that he considers his first love. He also owns a genuine Ford Model T, one of the first cars ever made. He likely doesn't drive the latter around much, though for the sake of comedy and virality, I hope someday he does. Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg is currently worth about $60 billion, but he's one of those uber billionaires who doesn't like to show off his wealth. He wears the same gray t-shirt every day, hopefully not the same single shirt each day, and if so, hopefully he washes it, and takes the same basic approach to his cars. While he may own several vehicles, none of them break the bank in any way. Zuck's main car is an Acura TSX, which is considered near luxury but retails for a mere $30,000. He's also been seen driving several other moderately priced vehicles, such as a Volkswagen Golf GTI hatchback and a Honda Fit. Basically, Mark Zuckerberg has no interest in crazy tricked-out vehicles, likely for the same reason he eschews high fashion. It would distract him from focusing on the social media innovation that made him so wealthy in the first place. If he could get away with no car at all, he likely would. But since that's not the case, if a vehicle's sporty, fun, reliable, and costs under 30 grand, the Facebook guru would happily dole out a heart react. Mark Zuckerberg's polar opposite would have to be Carlos Slim. The American mobile telecom giant worth over $60 billion owns several cars, and many are worth more than any of us could ever dream of. His crown jewel would have to be the 500 to 600 horsepower Bentley Continental Flying Spur. A car with that much power and that kind of name just sounds expensive, and that it is. The Spur's sticker price is around $300,000, an especially egregious price in his native Mexico, where most people's homes don't nearly cost that much. It's just further proof that unlike some of his fellow billionaires, Slim has absolutely no issues with looking rich in front of others. But that isn't Slim's only vehicle. The man also owns a top-of-the-line Mercedes 4x4, a Maybach Guard, a 1941 Cadillac, and a Chevrolet Suburban. At a mere 55 grand, the Chevy Suburban is apparently Carlos Slim's version of seeming humble. One CEO who doesn't even begin to ever consider appearing humble is Prince Al-Walid bin Talal Al Saud, the Saudi prince who is also CEO of Saudi conglomerate Kingdom Holding Company. Worth almost $16 billion, the prince regularly indulges his love of cars no matter how decadent it may make him look. Perhaps most famously, Al-Walid owns a Rolls-Royce Phantom, worth an incredible $246,000. Inside the Phantom is an LCD TV, French champagne, and oak wood panels, because Al-Walid loves nothing more than to live and ride in style and luxury. And while owning a vehicle like that would be impressive enough for most people, not so for the prince. He reportedly owns over 300 luxury cars, including various Lamborghinis and Ferraris. He most likely doesn't drive many of them around so much as he keeps them as status symbols, but it must also be good to know you essentially have an unlimited choice of rides should one of your Ferraris have to go in the shop. Steve Ballmer, Microsoft's CEO from 2000 until 2014 and current owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, is worth roughly $45 billion. You wouldn't know that, however, from his choice of cars. Being a Detroit native whose father worked at Ford, Ballmer sticks mainly with Ford vehicles, and not the tricked-out super expensive variety either. For the most part, you could probably own what he drives. Ballmer's current car is a Ford Fusion Hybrid, with a sticker price of only $25,295. Compared to his overall worth, that's like you or I purchasing a brand new car for a penny. What's inside the car, however, perfectly defines Ballmer as a businessman. While he was running Microsoft, Ford would produce vehicles equipped with Sync, an infotainment system run on Microsoft programming. It was the perfect combination of Ballmer's Detroit roots and Seattle career interests. So when Ford produced their 1 millionth Sync vehicle, CEO Alan Mulally honored Ballmer by sending him a Sync-equipped Fusion as a token of their partnership. It's been Ballmer's ride of choice ever since, and since it doesn't run a whole lot of money, it can be your ride of choice too. In January 2018, IKEA founder and CEO Ingvar Kamprad passed away at age 91. At the time, he was worth nearly $59 billion, a fortune amassed due both to IKEA's success and Kamprad's own famous frugality. The man quite simply hated to spend money. He would fly coach, stay at cheap motels, purchase clothing from flea markets and thrift stores, eat at IKEA cafes, and would even get his hair cut while visiting third world countries, where he'd pay less. He'd also save money by living abroad and hiding his wealth among various shadow corporations, thereby dodging his native Sweden's high tax rates. But that part of the story isn't nearly as whimsical. His thriftiness extended to his choice of car. In 1993, he purchased a 1993 Volvo 240 for $25,000 and never gave that car up. For 20 years, he drove that one Volvo, only stopping in 2013 because his advanced age had made it too difficult to drive. Naturally, he didn't spend a lot of money keeping the car in tip-top condition. It's largely believed that the $25,000 Volvo, which would have cost just under $40,000 in 2013 money, was barely worth several $1,000s by the time he gave it up. As long as it still worked though, Comprod likely cared not one bit how it looked or operated.